Welcome to Action Coach's 5 Ways to Massive Profits. What we're going to learn today is all about the profit model for a business and what the 5 key areas to work on to grow your business. So let's begin. I appreciate you coming out today and joining me. In business, time is your most valuable asset by far, and I appreciate you allocating me an hour of your time for some learning. Business doesn't mean busyness, and investing your time is one of the keys to success in your business. So I congratulate you. I thank you and congratulate you for investing an hour of your time in growing your business today. So, and my plan is to reward your time with some of the simplest, easiest, and fastest ways to increase your income. Just a few, and cover some examples of how to do that. So let's talk about what a business is. A successful business, by our definition, is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So it's all about getting profitable. And the 5 ways is all about getting profitable. It's our profit model, and it's about getting your profits, and then you reinvest that profit into systems and team that make your business work for you, and then grow it to the point where it works without you. But today our focus is on that commercial, profitable enterprise, because that's what the 5 ways are all about. And remember, when you're looking at how you spend your time, make sure you're always working on your business part of the time, not just in it. So today you're in a webinar to learn more about business. That's working on your business. That's working on you, yourself, which is working on your business, not just doing the work of your business, which is working in your business. If you have any questions, so as we go into this, if you have any questions, just go ahead and put it in the chat box, and I will, I'll check for those, and when they pop up, I'll see them and I'll stop and answer them. So any questions as you go along the way, just go ahead and type it in the chat box, and I will be able to see them, and we'll be able to answer your questions as we go. So don't hesitate to stop me. So the big dream. So if you want to get, to get where we want to go, it's all about knowing where you are today and then where you want to go. So today, what revenue is your business generating today? Where do you live? What kind of house? What do you drive? Is it what you want to drive long term? What investments do you have? What travel plans do you have? What are you doing with your family to enjoy things? And then how much time are you working in your business? And then in 5 years, what revenue is your business generating? Where do you live in 5 years? Is it the same place? Have you added on? Have you installed a pool, a deck, more living area? What are you driving now, 5 years from now? 5 years from now, what investments have you made? Where have you been? Have you traveled the world? Have you traveled the U.S.? Have you left the state of Kentucky or whatever state you're in? What is your family enjoying? What do you do together? And how much time are you working in the business 5 years from now? So those are the things to think about as you plan out your business and set goals for those. Is where am I going? Because the more you know where you're going, the better decisions you can make today about the choices you can make today. If you know what the end in mind is in that 5-year window, you can make better choices today. If you can hear all the sirens in the background, I apologize. We've got half a fire department driving by. They'll be gone in a minute. So keys to success in business. There's 5 of them. Leverage, which is systems, which is all the things you can do to improve your business, be more productive, be more efficient. So we get leverage in the areas of people, team, the systems we use, the technology, and then sales and marketing. How we get new, bigger, better clients is a big part of the leverage to succeeding in business. So let's talk about sales and marketing. Going back, that last one. That's what the 5 ways is all about. That's where, because that's where all the profit is made. So some people think sales and marketing is an expense, right? If you run a P&L that your accountant set up, marketing is an expense. You might have some selling expenses, but if we think of it as just an expense, it's just overhead, then we get scared and we limit ourselves because we get scared that number's too big, even though it might be generating an incredible amount of revenue. So, but the real view, the business owners, our view at ActionCOACH, but really the business owners, the true entrepreneur's view, is that sales and marketing is an investment. And what makes it an investment is that for every dollar that goes out, more dollars should come in. And for some businesses, that's true, and for other businesses, that isn't. But if your marketing is not returning 3 to 1, 5 to 1, 10 to 1, then we need to look at your sales and marketing efforts and change that and do it and make it better. Key ways to do that are test and measure. So not all marketing works perfectly. Not everything we try works. And that's why we always test it. We try small, we measure the results, and we figure out what approaches worked, what marketing did work, what sales approaches did work. And then we do more of that, and we stop doing the stuff that didn't get us as good of results, didn't get us a good return on investment, and we work our way up. So the 5 ways is all about return on investment and getting that and testing and measuring so that we know what works and we can keep doing and do more of it. So there's 2 sides to marketing. So when you're getting new clients, there's the acquisition cost. It's how much does it cost you to get a client. So if you spend, say, $300 in advertising to get 10 customers, you paid $30 for each customer. So that's what it costs you to acquire those customers. And the goal is always to look at how do we reduce the amount that it costs us to get that. And then you look at lifetime value. So some clients, they buy from us once, some clients, they buy from us 10 times. One of the things we look at and keep track of is on average, how long do they spend with us? So if your customer spent $550 a year for 6 years, for example, that's $3,300 of revenue. For that $30 acquisition cost, they spent $3,300 with you. And so we always looked at what can we do to increase that. And that's what the 5 ways is all about. It's about getting a lower acquisition cost and a higher lifetime value, because that's how we can massively increase our revenues and then our profits as well. So we're always looking at how to do that. So here's our formula. This is what we call the 5 ways. And the formula it's based on all the inputs. So if you look at the items in red, customers, revenue, and profit. All businesses want more customers, want more revenue, more sales, and they want more profit. But the key is you can't work, those aren't items you can get directly. You have to work on the components that lead to that. So customers comes from the number of leads and then the conversion rate. Conversion rate is what percentage of people you talk to become customers. So if half the people you talk to buy from you, then you've got a 50% conversion rate. So then once they're customers, then it's number of transactions. How many times a year do they buy from you? Is it once? Is it 10 times? What's the average? And then what's the average sale? What's the average ticket price? So I got a question here about measuring transactions. So number of transactions, easiest way to do that out of most people's accounting, bookkeeping, is just how many transactions did you have last year and how many different customers. And you can just divide the 2 of those and get the average. So if you know how many unique customers you have, and then how many total transactions you had, you just divide the 2 to get the average. That's typically the easiest way to do it. So good question, thank you. Average dollar sale is just, some people spend $100, some people spend $1,000. It's just what's our average. And again, that might be just today's total sales divided by the number of transactions we had. We had 50 sales and we sold $1,000. That's what, $20 a sale. So as an average sale. So it's pretty easy to come up with our initial number for these by just doing a little bit of math with your existing numbers. We can always come up with a pretty good idea of what it is. And so your number of customers you have times the number of times they buy from you in a year times the average amount they spend equals your annual revenue. And then off the revenue, then it's profit margins. Revenue times your profit margin, which is a percentage that's profit. It's leftovers profit. That's your profit. So got another question here. Okay, so profit margin. So there's two types of profit margins. There's gross margin and there's net margin. So gross margin is the percentage of your sale that is left over after you pay for what it cost you to do the work. For a retailer, it's your cost of goods is what it cost you to buy whatever it is you sold. So if you bought it for $2 and sold it for $10, your sales will be $10, your cost of goods will be $2, your gross profit would be $8 then, which would be 80%, 8 divided by 10. If you're in the service industry, it might be labor. Your labor charges are your cost of goods. That's what it costs you to do that. You only, if you're just paying by the job. Materials for a job are cost of goods. The labor may or may not be cost of goods depending on if everyone's just getting paid whether they're working or not. Then that's just overhead. If they only get paid while they're on that job, that would be cost of goods for that. And then any materials that were bought just for that job would be cost of goods for that. And then the gross profit is what's left over after you pay for the labor and the materials. And then the rest of that has to cover your overhead. And then your net margin is your net income. That's what at the bottom of your profit and loss statement, that's what you got to pay taxes on, is that net profit and the net margin. So when you have the word margin on it, it means percentage of something. And so when it comes to profit, the gross margin is the gross profit divided by the sales, and the net margin is the net profit on your P&L divided by your sales. And that net profit is what you end up having to pay taxes on. So good questions. Thank you. So let's put in some numbers to see how this really works. So we'll take a fictitious business, call it a plumbing business, and they've got 4,000 leads in the course of a year. 4,000 people called and asked about plumbing services. They had a conversion rate of 25%. So 1 out of 4 that called hired them to do the job. Some of them were just phone calls. Some of them were where you went out and gave a quote for a bigger job. But overall, of the 4,000 queries, 25% of them hired you, and so they got 1,000 customers. So they did 2,000 transaction jobs total last year. So that meant on average, it was 2 transactions per customer. Some customers they only saw once, some they saw 10 times. But because they had a total of 2,000 transactions, we know that their average number of transactions is 2. Their average sale, again, we know what their revenues are. So the revenue, we knew the revenues were 200,000, and we know we did 2,000 transactions. So that meant that their average sale was 100. Some sales were just miscellaneous parts they bought from us, $25 here, $30 there. Some were $1,000 jobs, $2,000, $3,000 jobs. But the overall average was 100, which is all we want to know. So then profit margins were 25%. In this case, we're just using their net margin and not worried about their gross margin. So their profit was $50,000. So that's the 5 ways for this plumbing company. So now let's talk about what we do with it, how we use that to grow our business. So the goal is over the course of a year that we want to look at increasing by 10% in each area. And by putting some real focus on that. So to get number of leads, so what are some of the ways that if you type it in the chat, what are some of the ways that some of you get leads for business? Social media, okay. Email marketing, all right. Networking, word of mouth, referrals from prior customers, great. So those are all excellent ways to do it. And one of the things I see, especially networking and referrals and word of mouth, are three that are probably that I hear the most common. And one of the things to think about is, how regularly do you ask? So word of mouth. So for businesses that say word of mouth, I've talked to so many businesses that, what the number one way is to get word of mouth businesses, and it's to ask customers to recommend you, to refer you. So many business owners just wait and hope and cross their fingers that their customers will tell other people. My clients, we put in place, we formally ask for referrals. We ask them to share with people. We ask them, we encourage them to. Sometimes we incentivize them depending on the business. So key is you got to ask. Referrals for prior customers, that's one of my major ways I get clients as well. So it's a great way to do it. But again, I talk to my clients about the jobs I've done. I ask them who else do they know that they could refer me to, and I help them refer me. I encourage them to. Sometimes I incentivize them to. So number of leads is easy to do. It's also usually the last one we work on because it can be the most expensive. I don't want to go off and buy a lot of marketing, buy a lot of advertising, but I don't have to. But the word of mouth, the networking, customer referrals are all ways that we can do that just cost us a little time and not a lot of money. So those are great ones. So over the course of the year, if you put a little focus on increasing your number of leads by just 10%. So in our plumbing business, we put some things in place. We put some referral programs in place. We got better at networking. We utilized social media to show people what it is we did and let them see, and overall attract us 10% more. And it's because we put focus on it. We chose to do it. So we get 10% more. And that's typically how it works. When you put a focus on these areas, it's really easy to get a 7 to 10% increase. So then conversion rate. Number one way to improve your conversion rate is to just track it, pay attention to it. And then it's the second is get a little sales training. Make sure you know how to sell. Make sure if you do things by quote that make sure your quotes are high quality. And do a good job of selling you, not just the company, but the job, you personally, sell the company, and just make people feel real comfortable and confident that you're the one for the job. The other way to do it is to make sure that they know everything that you can do for them. Sometimes they don't buy because they think what you do isn't quite a match for their needs. And so we need to make sure we're doing a really good job of making sure that they know how what we do meets their needs, and that they know everything we do, so that we can do that. So 10% increase in conversion rate, that takes us up to 27.5%, just a 10% increase. So now we've got not just 10% more clients, because these multiply. It's not just 10% more clients, it's 21% more clients that we now have. So all we got is 10% more leads and 10% better conversion rate. Now we've got 21% more customers. So now we go to number of transactions. This is repeat business. So what are some of the things you do to get repeat business out there? There we go. There's the number one, ask. Yep. You'd be amazed how many business owners don't ask their customers to buy again. They don't offer another service, another option, another opportunity for them. So that's always the best way, is to make sure, is to ask. Don't just assume they'll come back. And then the other thing is, make sure they know everything you do. I had a client that kind of a handyman, and he built a deck for his neighbor, and his neighbor was really happy with it, and referred him to a couple other people for decks, and he built decks, and they were all happy. And one day he came home from working on a project, and his neighbor had a new fence up, and he was really upset that his neighbor hadn't asked him, and he thought that, well, maybe he wasn't happy with my deck after all, and he was just saying that to be nice. And so I told him, I said, well, why don't you go, how well do you know him? He'd known him for years. I said, just go ask him. And so, because I was pretty sure I knew the answer, and sure enough, he said, when he asked him, say, hey, just how come you didn't ask me to do your fence? The guy said, I didn't know you did fences. I just thought you were the deck guy. And so make sure your customers know everything that you do. Because if you do a good job and they're happy with you, they're going to want to do business with you again. It's so much easier to do business with somebody you already know. And so make sure two things. One, that you ask them to come back. Make it easy for them to come back. Offer them new opportunities to come back. And then make sure they know everything you do. And if we do that and we get really good at it, actually, if we're just average at it, because most business owners are terrible at it, we'll increase our number of transactions by 10%. So now it's average 2.2 per year. We're getting 1 out of 10 people to come back more often. Average dollar sale. Again, fastest way to invest. So two top ways to increase your average sale is to raise your prices and to track your average sale. It's another number, just like conversion rate, that when you track it, just keeping track of it and keeping that front of mind for yourself and your team, you'll increase your average sale about 5 to 7%, just because. Then raising your prices. Not everybody can raise their prices on everything, but there's always ways to raise your prices. And it's looking to add enough, make sure there's enough value that you're delivering. But most people can raise their prices 5%, and no one's going to care. There are some industries where it's extremely price competitive, but even then, we have to work a little harder to find the added value that we're delivering to justify the higher price. But unless you're in, just contract bid work for like state and government, where everything is just low bidder, there's often opportunities to increase your average sale. So if we increase our average sale by 10%, now we're up to $110. So now our revenue is up. So our customers were up 21%. Now we've multiplied by 10% more transactions and multiplied by 10% higher average sale. So now look what that does to our revenues. That puts our revenues up an additional $92,820. That's a 46% increase in revenues. And all we've done is do a 10% increase in 4 areas. Now we can go work on your margins. And in reality, we can work, depending on your business, we may have 2 areas of margin that we can work on, both your gross and your net. But if we just look at your net and try to increase your net by 10%, again, raising your prices is one way. Other strategies for raising your margins are managing your overhead, taking a look and making sure that that we're buying materials at the most effective rates, that we're not spending too much on things that aren't generating revenue. And it's really looking at how are we investing our dollars in revenue generating overhead, and just managing our overhead. Most companies are pretty good at managing their overhead, but usually we can always find something usually it's in our our pricing structure, or there's just some area that we've just not been paying attention to. So again, measuring overhead sometimes is a great way to lower it a little bit. Because all we need to do is get 10% out of it. And so now we've increased our margin by 10%. So instead of 25%, it's 27.5%. So let's see what that does to our profits. So by working each of those, now we've got an extra $30,525 in our pocket. So when we're used to having $50,000 left over in our pocket, now we've got $80,000 in our pocket. Not a bad little plumbing business. So any questions about the 5 ways and how that works and strategies? Okay, so average dollar sale question. So other strat. So like I said, everyone's afraid to increase prices. And like I said, there are some industries where that can be difficult, but usually there's a way. If you're retail, as long as you're not selling a commodity, the fact is everybody else's prices have gone up. Why haven't yours? Your costs have gone up. Most of the costs of goods have gone up, and so you can pass along some of that. And in reality, most customers won't notice. I've had clients where we've increased prices, and have had customers come back and say, "It's about time you increased our prices." You haven't increased your prices in 5 years. Customers notice. So it's all dependent on your customer base, your industry, but there's always room for a little bit. Say you're in an industry, that's the one thing you can't do. You can't change your prices. So instead of getting that 60% increase in profit, because you can't increase all five areas by 10%, you can only increase 4 areas by 10%. You're stuck with a 46% increase in profits. I don't know too many business owners that would be upset that they could only get a 46% increase in profit. So it's all about sticking with it and figuring out what you can do. I'm not a fan of what I can't do. I prefer the approach of what can I do. So those numbers, 10% in each of 5 areas gives you a 46% increase in revenue. So just those first 4 areas, it's a 46%. And all 5 areas, 10%. That's 61% increase in profits. And you can duplicate that every year if you want to, and keep growing. So just for fun, just to see what the math looks like, what if we doubled? And you won't necessarily do this in a year, but what if you doubled over a 5 to 7 year period? That's 8,000 leads. That's a 50% conversion rate for 4,000 customers who buy from you 4 times a year now, spend $200 average. It's a $3.2 million sales business, with a 50% margin and $1.6 million profit. So if you did this for 5 to 7 years, increase 10% each time, this is exactly where you'd be. You take this $50,000 profit business to a $1.6 million profit business. Because business is simply math. And one of the keys to being a successful growing business is understanding the math game that business is. Because business is just one big giant math game. So, the question is this really possible to do in my business? Well, of course it is. And say we can only get 10% in 4 of those areas. Oh darn, I can only increase my profits by 46%. It's not hard. It's just work, and it's focused. And one of the ways that this is different is that it's really focused. And the reason it works is because we're going to decide we're going to get more leads. And we're going to put together strategies. We're going to try them out, see which ones work, and then do the ones that work all the time and get those more leads. Then we're going to work on our sales skills, our quoting. If you quote jobs, we're going to work on our quoting skills and get better at quoting, write quotes that sell so that we get into bigger and better clients. The better job we do quoting, the higher level jobs that we can get with better customers who pay more, easier to work with, versus sometimes we get stuck with customers that aren't so much fun to work with, but we take it because we got to pay the bills. But we want to get past that. So number of transactions, it's do we need to add services? Are there services we offer that people don't realize that we offer, that we could, that we need to educate them about? That's how we get more work. That's how we can get more transactions out of our existing customers. It's always easier to get more work out of an existing customer than it is to go hunt down new customers. So that's why that number of transactions. An average sale. What are we doing to get a little bit bigger job? What are we doing to add a little value, add a little service? Make sure we get the whole job and not part of the job. Make sure they buy everything from us instead of buying some from us and some from the guy down the street. And then managing our profits, making sure we know our numbers. We got to know our numbers in our business. Business is math, it's numbers, and we have to know what those. So we'll set all that up. So the key is, these dreams. When we went back to the beginning, we talked about where you're at now, where you want to be 5 years about now. Where would you like to be 5 years? That dream, that can happen. If you're thinking entrepreneurial, if you're working as an entrepreneur, if you've got that plan and you look at it and you think about it and you start making the changes to your business now so that you can be that company that has 10 times the sales. We don't wait for that. We start doing it now. Because if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always got. So the key is, what do we do now to start changing the way you run your business, the way you run your numbers, and thinking like that entrepreneur, that business builder, not just a service provider, but thinking and acting and making decisions like that entrepreneur business builder with goals and plans for the future. And then having that organized way to go about doing it. Hold on to those dreams, whatever your dreams are, those 5 years. They're real. Don't let them go. So any questions? Question for you. So when we generate that extra revenue in that business, we're probably going to start freeing up time as well. Because your business is going to be working better, more profitable, and we'll be able to add some team, maybe some equipment, some systems that will start freeing up time. So if we free up time, and that you're 50 weeks, we free up 6 hours a week. That's 300 extra hours. What are you going to do with that time on top of that extra money? You spend it with friends and family. You spend it on your hobbies, on travel, enjoying life. So Jim Rohn, this came up. I was at a coaches conference last week, and one of the coaches was asking a question about how to make their clients better and how to make their coaching business better. And one of the other coaches brought up these two famous quotes. Never wish your life was easier, wish you were better. And work harder on yourself than you do on your job. So the first one is, we always wish things were easier. And if they're not easy enough, it just means we're not good enough. So focus on getting better. And that falls right in line with work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Your business, as a business owner, your business can only be as good as you are, can only be as big as you are. If on a scale of 1 to 10, you're a 6, your business can only be a 5. If you want your business to be a 7, then you need to work on yourself to be an 8. Because as a leader of your company, you are the limit on your company. Your business knowledge, your leadership abilities are what are going to be what the limiting factors are on the growth of your business. So there's a famous saying out there that a lot of the motivational speakers use, where you'll be in 5 years depends on the books you read and the people you associate with. Your income will be the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And while that's true, on the books you read and the people, but it's really only if you take action. That's why we're Action Coach. We're not read book coach. It's you have to do the learning, and then you have to apply the learning. If you hang around, if the people you associate with, you're learning from them, they're motivating you. You have to take that learning and you have to figure out, how do I apply that to my business? How do I get better as a person? How do I get better as a business owner? And how do I put that in play in my business to grow and improve? So what is business coaching? Business coaching is basically a business apprenticeship. There's apprenticeships in the trades where you learn how to do the trade. But coaching is a business apprenticeship where we grow your business, so it pays for your investment in your business education, your coaching, and you get to keep it forever. So everything that happens, we build into your business so that then it stays there, and that improvement is there forever while we go work on the next improvement. It's basically getting an MBA in your own business. It's just simply an apprenticeship, and we do it on your business instead of studying other businesses. We study and apply all the learnings, all the knowledge to your business so it grows, meets your needs, meets your family's needs, meets your team's needs. So as a decision you can make today, now I'll throw out there, there's 2 things you can do with what you've learned today about the 5 ways for your business. One is you're ready to get better results in your business, and you want to learn how to do that. So if that's you, then what you need to do is sign up for a free 90-minute coaching session. And the way that works is I will send you a questionnaire about your business that you'll fill out, and we'll schedule your 90-minute session. When then you'll commit to a date to get me that questionnaire back, so that I can read it, get with you if I have any questions about your answers. Then I can do a little bit of research and prepare for our meeting, so that I can come to that meeting with ideas for how we can make these improvements that you want in your business. And then we'll spend some time strategizing, identifying other challenges, barriers that get in the way of your growth. And then at the end, if we come up with a plan that makes sense and we both see the benefit of working together, then we'll talk about which coaching program will be the best fit for you. And we make a decision. If the decision is coaching's not for me, that's fine. That's a decision. But worst case, you walk out with a bunch of ideas for growing your business that you can try to implement yourself. Best case is we come out of there with a plan to work together to grow your business and accelerate the results, because that's what a coach is. A coach is a business success accelerator. You can do these things, but my clients have all experienced that they do them significantly faster. The other option is to just take what you've learned and keep trying to do it on your own, at your own pace, and that's fine. I hope you learned a few things that you can take forward and do that. But if you really want results, and you want results faster, and you want some guidance and an ordered, structured way to do it, then let's do a coaching session. So real quick, what I'd like to do is take a couple minutes and go back through your notes that you took on this and come up with your top two things that you're learning or taking away to implement in your business, and then type them in the chat box. I'll give you 2 minutes here. So I've got small changes can make a big difference. Don't be afraid to ask. Absolutely. That's often one of the biggest ones on getting that more business. That helps in conversion rate, and it helps on that number of transactions. Don't be afraid to ask. That unasked question is really dangerous in business. Create better quotes. Absolutely. We've got a quoting process that takes quotes and makes it easier to sell that bigger job with a more value-based quote, so that people really understand what it is you can do for them. Working more on the business versus in the business, and it's always finding that balance. But if you really want to grow your business, you've got to, we're going to have to figure out how many hours a week can we work on the business to get you going faster, and do that acceleration. And that's something we can strategize together to come up with. So I've also got the difference in margins, understanding a little bit of the difference between gross margin and net margin. So if you've got cost of goods, that's a really important one, because the different strategies work differently, and you can work them both and get an even bigger return on your investment from your coaching, from working on both sides of the margin equation. So that's a good one. And then the keeping track of average dollar sale is another one. Good. Knowing how much that average is, especially if you've got a lot of transactions, it's really easy to forget about that. And the more transactions you have, the easier it is to get that little increment, and it can make a big difference, because it really multiplies and adds over time. So now it's time to get into action. So if you are interested in a free coaching session, you can go ahead and type a note in, and my office will email you all the information, and we'll get you on my calendar so we can do that session and grow your business. Hope you have a great week, and appreciate your investment in yourself today by spending a little time. So thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye for now.